Jets have obviously the worst defense in football, and the Giants may have the worst offense in football. I mean, yesterday was just horrific, and now the longest active streaks with 8 or more losses in a season. The Jets lead the list with 6. This goes back to 2016 for them, and the Giants are right on their heel with this is their 5th consecutive season now with at least 8 losses. And I mean, yesterday was horrific. I mean, I don't know what to tell you other than they have no confidence. There were times where it looked like they didn't even know what they were doing. I don't know if the headsets went out again. Saquon Barkley had a horrific game. He gets hit right in the hands with a ball that may have changed the game, may not have, who knows. But you didn't expect much from Mike Glennon. Mike Glennon hasn't won very many games as a starting quarterback in this league, and you wonder why they decided to move on from Colt McCoy and move on to Mike Glennon. Who knows why? I mean, it makes no sense. But their offense yesterday was essentially unwatchable. I mean, it was about as bad as you can imagine. And I've been in bad offenses, so I know the number one ingredient in a bad offense is a lack of confidence from everybody in the huddle, including the quarterback. Now, this is the backup quarterback. This wasn't Daniel Jones. But still, that means everybody else has got to raise their level of play. And instead of raising their level of play, they lowered whatever level they were already at level of play, and it didn't support a backup quarterback who, at times, I don't know where he was throwing the ball or what he was looking at. And I never really want to be tough on backup quarterbacks because they don't get a lot of run in practice. They don't get a lot of chance to see things. And, Mike Glennon has been around. It's one of the reasons why you have a guy like him is just in case you need a guy to step in and win 1 or 2 games, not to be your starter for 7 or 8 games. But, man, I'm telling you, yesterday –
makes you want to hate football. It really does.
I don't know what Joe Judge is talking about. Here's welcome to your New York moment. Now, he said about 4 or 5 of these. And here's the thing that I would tell Joe Judge. Yes, you speak to your fans. You have a passionate fan base. And for the most part, you've acknowledged the fans. You've acknowledged their right to boo. You've acknowledged the passionate Giant fan. You've acknowledged the mistakes that your team has made. But you have to understand something. That there is a loud, and I mean extremely loud, fan base that is so sick and tired of what they are watching on Sunday. And they could turn the TV on and they can watch Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, even Ben Roethlisberger, who didn't have a great game yesterday, will his team to victory at the end of it. And I don't know what to say other than I feel bad for Giant fans. My phone is blowing up during the game. I can't answer all the questions that the fans are asking for. And I'm telling you, they have had it. I mean, like Jet fans right now, I think, are in a place where they know that they've started over and that they are going to have growing pains. And maybe the first half was good for Zach Wilson yesterday. The second half was horrific. But I will say that the Giant fan, again, we are right back where we were a couple years ago, where they have had it again.
Oh, it feels like the end of the Ben McAdoo era. It feels like the end of the Pat Shurmur era. It feels like we have gotten there again. You're right. And there wasn't a lot of people saying, well, it was Mike Glennon, it wasn't Daniel Jones. I didn't hear a lot of that. I just heard this Giants offense is terrible because I think most people who have watched the Giants all year realize that Daniel Jones wouldn't have been that much better yesterday because he hasn't been that much better the entire season. And I think the reason why Joe Judge has been talking or we said all that stuff about how he saw positives is he doesn't want to be embarrassed with the firing of Jason Garrett. Jason Garrett was the scapegoat. He said that was the problem. We have too many good players that aren't putting us in a position to win. He fired him. He brought in his buddy Freddie Kitchens was already there, but he made Freddie Kitchens the offensive coordinator, the guy who calls plays, and it's been just as bad, if not worse. So he's just trying to spin it for you at the end of these games, but they have gotten worse with the firing of Jason Garrett.
Well, and I know they didn't have Daniel Jones yesterday, so that is the big piece that is missing for Freddie Kitchens. But timeout. But the thing that bothers me is I want to go back a week against Philadelphia, the second play of the game. I mean, if you watch the game, and I watch that play, you'll see that Daniel Jones basically gets crushed. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what's wrong with Daniel Jones. All we know is some sort of neck issue, and that may keep him out the rest of the year. But you're sitting there saying, okay, this is what your new offensive coordinator is coming up with. Let's take our quarterback and let's run him up, or run him around the side so he can meet like 5 Philadelphia Eagles all at one time on the second play of the game. I don't know why you would do that. That's not who Daniel Jones is. Yeah, you want to use his running expertise and his ability and all that other stuff. I don't know if it was a broken play. I don't even know what the hell it was. But there are all sorts of issues that they have on offense. And yesterday, they were obvious again with the timeout mismanagements, the drop passes, just all the crap that has infected this team from an offensive standpoint. I mean, the defense played okay. They played a good enough game to be able to win, and they'll tell you that they didn't because they didn't shut them out and all that other stuff. They'll say all the right things. But my God, I mean, believe me, I've been in an offense where it looks like this, and it's almost impossible to get out of it. Almost impossible. Right now, with these players, under these sets of circumstances, with this coach, I don't see it.
How can they? I mean, all right, so Daniel Jones being out. I
just don't see it.
But how can they consistently be this bad if those players were any good? I mean, that is the question we've been asking ourselves for a long time with the Giants, back to the Odell Beckham Jr. days. I mean, when you've got Kenny Golladay, Saquon Barkley, Sterling Shepard, Darius Slayton, I know a lot of these guys have missed time, Evan Ingram, how could you be that bad? Well, the answer is because the players aren't as good as you thought that they were. So this is why big changes have to happen, and there are times that continuity in the NFL means something, and you should stick with a certain regime. There has to be major changes here. You just said it. The Giants are now second on a list of teams that have lost at least 8 games in a season consecutively. The Jets are first. The Giants are now second with 5. It's pathetic. It's absolutely pathetic. Daniel Jones is not the answer. Saquon Barkley is not the answer. Dave Gettleman is not the answer. The Joe Judge call is going to be an interesting one, but after yesterday, I don't know if he's the answer any longer. There has to be another regime change. And I know that people say, well, John Mara is too quick to move on from guys. Maybe Ben McAdoo knew something with the Eli Manning thing. Pat Shurmur gave Daniel Jones his best season. What if you stuck with those guys? Who knows what would have happened? You can go back now with revisionist history. I don't know what you'll do with the coach, but the players have to change.
Oh.
The players have to. It's enough. It is enough. I know that Kadarius Toney's not going anywhere. I know that Kenny Galladay's not going anywhere. You should have traded Evan Ingram at the trade deadline. In my opinion, I was saying you should have traded Saquon Barkley at the trade deadline because he's worthless. I mean, you get anything back for him and it's fine.
Who says that they didn't try to do that?
I don't feel like they did because I feel like they overrate their players.
You know, it's interesting. We were talking about, I brought his name up again yesterday in the NFL Today. Corey Dillon, who I played with his rookie year in Cincinnati. That's what a Hall of Fame running back looks like. That's what a guy, who can break through holes and break tackles and run over people looks like. And that's what Saquon Barkley was supposed to be when he was drafted here. And Saquon's a great guy. We all love him. Everybody, thinks the world of him. But, man, it just ain't there, man. It's just not there. It's almost like he does not – it's almost like he's afraid to get hit on the field. Mm-hmm. And you could see it. Like everything is to the outside. Everything's to the outside. And I'm not saying that there's a lot of room, and I'm not saying that he has all pro guys in front of him on the offensive line. But, man, I watch running backs. Every week we see running backs, plowing into guys, running over guys. It is a hard position. It is physically demanding. It's psychologically demanding. You got to be some sort of lunatic to want to play the position, but you got to play it like a lunatic, especially if you're going to get the ball 15 to 20 times a game. I mean, Joe Mixon for the Bengals got the ball 58 times in 2 games. 58 times in 2 games. He got the ball. Think about that for a second. Could you ever imagine Saquon Barkley getting the ball 58 times in 2 games?
Well, you'd never be able to because the Giants offense can't do anything, and then they're never up in a game, and they always have to throw because they're down. But no, of course not. He doesn't run in between the tackles. He never was a great blocker. I mean, he's supposed to be a weapon out of the backfield. He's a key drop yesterday. Someone asked him after the game, there's people out there that say you don't have it anymore. I mean, that's where we've gotten to with Saquon Barkley.
It's sad. What he needs a new place to go. Yeah. For himself, he needs to get the hell out of here. He really does. I mean, I don't see any way, shape, or form that anything is going to change for him, especially given where they are with the state of the offense and the quarterback situation and everything else. I don't know if he had another quarterback back there with him that legitimately had a passing game that opposing teams had to worry about. Would he be better? That could be the answer for the Giants. But with all the glowing things that Dave Gettleman said about Saquon, that may have been right when you go to, the combines and you watch these guys and you say to yourself, my God, this guy is so explosive. This guy is so fast. He's so athletic. How can he miss? What you don't know about a guy is whether or not he physically has the toughness to really want to play the position the way the position is supposed to be played. Look, Ezekiel Elliott, when his first part of his career, you saw what he was. I mean, he basically carried that offense and Dak Prescott. He was able to camouflage for Dak Prescott, and he would run through the tackles, and he would run over people, and he'd be feed me, feed me, feed me. Saquon Barkley has never been close to that.
Even in his Offensive Rookie of the Year season, a lot of that was, him breaking it out to the outside, catching passes. He was never someone who was going to be in there and block on a third down. He was never someone that was going to get you 2 yards on a 3rd and 2 with an off tackle or something right up the gut. He was never that guy.
And that's the thing about Ezekiel Elliott that I could sit here today and say, people, and we question it sometimes because we believe that Tony Pollard is the better player right now. But we say, why is Zeke on the field on 3rd down? Why isn't Tony Pollard out there more often? Well, that's because Zeke is a terrific pass blocker. He will step up and he will meet somebody at the line of scrimmage and there'll be a violent collision. Now, that's asking a lot of anybody. But if you play the position of running back in the NFL, that's a requirement. That's how you have to play the position. And that's one of the reasons why these guys never last. And it's another reason why most guys, like the New England Patriots, very rarely take a guy in the first round, in the top 10. They usually wait until the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th round to grab running backs because they know they're a dime a dozen and there's specific things that they have to do in games. And if you're the number 2 overall pick, this is not Gale Sayers. This is not Jim Brown. This is not, Emmitt Smith. This is not Walter Payton. This is who he's supposed to be. Think of all the guys that
Saquon's not even Wayne Gallman, much less those guys.
Right. Think of all the guys that are in the Hall of Fame. Now listen, Saquon Barkley didn't say this stuff about himself. This is Dave Gettleman legitimizing why he picked him and how just abrasive Dave was in his effusive praise of Saquon Barkley. Sitting here saying that this guy is touched by the hand of God, that he is a gold jacket guy and you can't pass on him. That's also adding fuel to the criticism fire that Saquon and the Giants are feeling and Dave Gettleman are feeling right now.
Well, he is tied to 2 picks, Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley. He could have hit on some others. No one wants to hear it. There were 2 picks he had to get right in those drafts, and it ended up at Saquon Barkley and Daniel Jones, and here we are again. Another really embarrassing losing season with an offense that absolutely stinks. So where do you go? How bad is the bloodletting going to be for the Giants? Is it just going to be Dave Gettleman, or is it going to be Dave Gettleman, Joe Judge, Saquon Barkley, Daniel Jones, and half the roster and just completely blow it up?
Well, the thing that Dave Gettleman basically is not going to come out and start talking. And right now, Joe Judge is the face of the franchise. And Joe Judge yesterday said a lot of stupid things.
And we're going to hear that from Jerry coming up.
And Joe Judge is going to be, this is like it's a word of warning to all coaches around here in all sports. Now comes the bloodletting. Now comes the criticism in regards to what you said after the game yesterday. Now, you've had that happen a number of times already this season, but now the Giant fan could not believe what they were hearing yesterday after the game.
And if you
not believe it.
Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget to hit the red bell so you're notified when we have new content.